Reddit, what is your worst experience of waking up after a one night stand? Woke up to the sound of someone banging on the door really loudly. Peeked out of the curtains to see a man mountain covered in tattoos almost busting the door off the hinges. He's screaming her name, calling her ass and telling her to open the door. Apparently one of his buddies had seen us leaving the club the previous night. She was nowhere to be seen. I got dressed as quickly as I could and legged it downstairs. This was when I realized that my shoes were by the front door. I could see this mammoth silhouette hammering on the door. Frick it. Straight out the back door and as fast as my bare feet could carry me to the bus stop. Jumped on a bus and saw her walking back toward her house with croissants and pastries and crap for breakfast. Never been so scared in my life. Boyfriend will be happy that she brought him breakfast. Glad you escaped, lol. Didn't happen to me. My friends and I get a ski house every winter. Every now and then there are some friends of friends that bum a weekend, etc. It's all good though and everyone gets along fine. Have never had a problem. This one weekend, a couple of new guys show up, and all they can talk about is drinking and getting laid. One hygienically challenged overweight obnoxious dude cannot stop bragging about his unbroken streak of getting laid on ski weekends all over the nation. I forget the number but he claimed it was something like 45. We'll call him Pete. Anyway, a bunch of us go out to our favorite bar. About 30 minutes into it, Pete and the new kids show up. All you heard throughout the night was, "Hi, my name is Pete." Pete must have hassled every single female in the place regardless of age, race, physical orientation, or religious beliefs. I don't think I ever saw anyone more utterly turned down by so many women in a single evening. But the guy had no shame. He gave no fricks about how publicly pathetic he was being and how much he was peeing the women off. Around 1 AM, me and my friends get up to leave. Outside the bar is this particularly obese young girl barfing up what seemed like a month's worth of hastily chewed up food. We all turn away and start walking to our car. A couple of seconds later, I hear, "Hi, my name is Pete." We all swing around in crazy disbelief thinking, no freaking way. But there he is, Pete, just standing next to the newfound love of his life and a puddle of reeking chunky vomit. None of us could contain ourselves. Next thing you know, Pete and puke girl get into her car and drive away. Pete's two friends are nowhere to be seen. My friends and I are laughing our asses off on the way back to our ski house until we pull up on the driveway. Puke girl's car is right smack in the middle of it. There are two couples' bedrooms in the house, and one big butt room with a bunch of beds that me and my friends crash in, and the two couples who are with us are livid as we storm the house to throw them the frick out before they get busy. Too late, and they took the big butt room. All you could hear was the loud stupor of their drunken fricking. None of us wanted to go in there. We all sleep in the living room and various places on the floor. The next morning I get up, and a very hungover Pete is sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee. He looks up at me and says, "Voot-tater, can you go in the bedroom and check something for me?" I ask what? "Can you check to see if she's ugly?" I gleefully recount the whole sordid story in graphic detail. By the time I'm done, Pete is looking like he's about to slit his wrists. Ah yes, the shotgun method. With a large enough spread you're bound to hit something. I know a friend of a friend like that, but he's skinny and not named Pete. Apparently he has moderate amounts of success as well. Wasn't even a one night stand. Started playing Magic the Gathering with her brother in the garage. Ended up in her room talking just long enough for her grandparents, who she was living with, to stick a shotgun in my face and tell me to leave. Yet, never talked to her again. Well, I woke up next to someone and immediately regretted the decision I had made drunkenly the night before. So I get up slowly to be as quiet as I could and started putting on my clothes, ready to leave. I got halfway down the staircase before I realized I was trying to sneak out of my own house. Frick, no, I did not sleep with my sister. What's wrong with you guys? It was some random girl I met whilst at uni and she had a very bad haircut and a pretty bad tooth to gum ratio, which gave rise to the nickname Lawnmower Donkey. Those were simpler times. And your wife was like, "Get the frick back here." You know when you wake up, look over, and instantly regret the person laying next to you? I tried that, except I was at the whale, and she had the regret. It clear instantly. We had both been really drunk, didn't know her name, and didn't remember how I got to her place. She didn't even talk to me, just pretended to be asleep, while turning more and more of her back to me. Being a guy, small clues like that wasn't obvious to me, but a stern no when asked if she wanted to meet up someday got me on my way. At first I felt bad. I was hungover, in a part of town that I didn't recognize, and a girl just kicked me out. But it was a beautiful sunny day, and as I found my way home I slowly started to feel better. Hungover as I was, I decided that this was a great time to a haircut. After getting my hair fixed I felt great. Nice, that's the spirit. Didn't actually hook up, but stayed at the house of a co-worker's friend, on her couch after a night of drinking. Come morning, I wake up to her boyfriend punching me in the chest. He had kicked in the door and trashed the place. I left and went home. A year later, they found the girl had been murdered. I blacked out after many tequila shots. Turns out the dream I had, where I was fricking the girl I was seeing, was really a nightmare in which I'd actually fricked some random girl that I didn't know. One of my friends told me that I'd been turning her down all night, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. None of my friends stepped in and it basically ruined a solid 2 years of my life. Oh, and the random girl pee the bed, too. All around the worst I've ever felt, ever. This has happened to me twice when I got really drunk. Ruined 2 of my relationships. Friends just sat there. Some of these friends gave me crap on it afterwards and were vicious about it while others helped me put my life back together. I've since stopped drinking heavily. She called her mother to let her know she was no longer single after knowing me for all of a few hours. Her mother drove 2 hours to meet me. I woke up, went to leave, ended up getting introduced to her mother as her boyfriend and stayed for breakfast. After I left, she never called me again. My then GF at the time came round my house and told me she was sleeping with someone else. Devastated at this news, I decided to bin her off and go out and chase tail. I somehow managed to drunkly get with a girl and we head back to her place. I was about to say goodnight and leave it there as I was feeling pretty fragile and only lived 10 minutes walk away. She asked me, "Where do you think you're going?" and took my hand and led me to her room. We go at it and shortly after the deed is finalized she tells me she was a virgin. I felt pretty bad but shrugged it off. When I woke in the morning and realized what I had done in my heartbroken drunken state, I felt awful. I didn't really want to see this girl again but felt duty bound as I was her first. I saw her a couple of times after that but it was just awkward as I was all over the place. My worst and only one night stand. Don't feel bad. She was probably looking to lose her virginity. Sounds like she expressly wanted a drunken hookup that night. I remember ordering a pizza at my buddy's house from a bar. I remember the delivery girl came back to the party after her shift. I remember taking a shower at her house and watching Narnia. I remember her locking her roommates out of her house BC she thought they drank her private stock. I remember being naked when the roommate's BF that looked like he could be a linebacker in the NFL burst through the bedroom door and came running towards me full speed. I remember waking up and said BF was eating breakfast with his GF and her son. I shook his hand and he offered me breakfast. I went home very confused. It was about 7 or 8 years ago. I was 22 or 23. This chick I'd kinda known since she was 15 or 16 was now 18 or 19. And she wanted to hang out. She told me she was at her friend's house just down the road from me and invited me to come chill. I stopped, picked up a 40, and headed over. They were already pretty stoned when I got there, so I slammed my 40 in order to catch up. Few hours pass. Her friend and her friend's boyfriend get pretty tired and call it a night. This leaves the 2 of us alone in this house I'd never been in before. She was stoned. I was drunk. And I think we fricked on every possible surface in her friend's apartment. Living room floor, kitchen table, the couch, outside on the 2nd story balcony at like 2 or 3 AM. We're fricking all over this apartment like we're performing some sort of city-funded structural integrity test. Eventually the festivities wind down, and we call it a night. Completely naked and using nothing but a sheet to cover up, we pass out on the living room floor. We wake up to her friend's parents dropping in unannounced for a Sunday morning visit. I'm laying on my back, fully torqued, pitching a nice circus tent for all to see. This totally smoking hot 18-19-year-old blonde passed out naked next to me, and I'm thinking, What the frick is my life right now? These parents I don't know just saw my boner. So begins the task of collecting my clothing from all around the living room and getting dressed. Somehow while staying under the sheet, we slowly woke up, got our crap together, and left. I couldn't tell you in a million years what her friend's parents looked like, but hopefully they'll never forget the sight of me pitching a tent on their daughter's floor. We're freaking all over this apartment like we're performing some sort of city-funded structural integrity test. Slow clap. Well played. Went to a Jersey party and got absolutely blackout drunk. Anyways, I wake up next to this not so stellar chick and there is legit blood on the pillow, sheets, wall, everywhere. Needless to say I booked it out of there 0-100. She dead. I'm from Portland but I went up to Seattle for New Year's Eve. I ended up going home with some girl and woke up the next morning not knowing where the heck I was. Completely unfamiliar with the city. In retrospect I probably should have taken a cab back, but instead I called my friends to come get me. They took hours. Just the typical awkwardness that can ensue from a one night stand, extended by hours and hours. Went out to a bar in a small town in Nebraska and the next morning woke up next to some Irish guy. He kept stroking my hair and telling me how he couldn't believe he met me and that we were together. I actually replied, "Whoa, homie, what's your name? Where am I?" His name was Kevin and I had to block his number after he sent me 6 or 7 text messages proclaiming his love to me that next day. Don't let crazy stick their dong in you. Upvoted for the last sentence. I was in Dallas for work and a young attractive girl came up to me at a bar. Zero effort needed to land her. She asked if I wanted to go back to her place for coffee, and only coffee. After arriving, she had no coffee. Shocker. Her bed was a mattress on the floor in the living room and taped to the wall next to it was a condom. It was a 1-bedroom place so she clearly had a roommate. After having fun and laying around the floor in the living room in my boxers, a rattle at the door startled me. I jumped up to put on clothes and this huge biker guy with tattoos and a leather jacket walks in. I immediately assume it's her boyfriend and I'm about to get hurt but instead he just looks at me with eyes of shame and just shakes his head slowly. It was then that I realized this guy probably comes home to this all of the time. I'm glad I used that condom taped to the wall. Well, not exactly worst, but definitely weirdest. I wake up to her dad standing over me as I lie next to her. The morning after, he asks, extremely friendly like, if I had a nice evening. I stammer that I did. Thanks for asking. While wondering how long I have to live, he asks if I'd like a bacon sandwich. Terrified, I say I would. He gives a big wink to his daughter and makes me a bacon sandwich. It is very nice. I leave afterwards, slightly confused. The shotgun never appears. Tomorrow it would be 2 weeks since that awful experience. We fell asleep at 6 AM or so, and I woke up at 8 AM. I didn't want to wake her so I decided to go to the living room to watch TV. At 10 AM I went into the room again to check on her. Still sleeping. 12 PM. Still sleeping. At 5 PM she woke up. I gave her water and food and asked how she's doing. She was doing fine. We talked for a bit and I realized this chick is not only a stupid blonde, but she's also xenophobic, super self-centered and I just wanted her to leave ASAP, but I didn't want to be rude about it. I gather her clothes and I put them right next to her, hoping she would take the hint. She didn't. She asked if she could charge her phone. I said sure. There is an outlet in the living room. She hands me her phone and asks me to plug it in. I finally get her to the living room, clothed up, and I ask if we should go for a walk, with the intention of walking her to the bus stop. She leaves her purse in my living room, but stupid pushover me still didn't want to be rude. We come back to my place, and it's like 7:30 PM. I asked if she had someone to come pick her up, because I needed to clean the house for my mother's arrival the next day. She said she would start to look, but all of her friends were away. I asked if she wouldn't mind taking the bus. She said she didn't have any money. I said I would pay for her, but no, she wouldn't want to borrow money from me. B please, get out now was my thoughts, but I persuaded her to go for another walk and asked her if she wouldn't mind having my phone and battery bank in her purse. She took the bait. We are heading for the bus stop, and my phone rings. I take it and the battery bank out and it was my friend. Finally, I can make something up. He would understand. He wanted to play Rocket League, but I act all shocked and confused. He really didn't know what was going on. I said I would be right over, said sorry to the girl and just left her there. No regrets. TLDR. Girl wouldn't leave after the most obvious hints that I wanted her out. TLDR. Rocket League FTW. I woke up between a married couple. In college I was kinda hanging out with this girl from an engineering class, who was surprisingly cute being a girl in an engineering class. Well, one night she texts me to meet her at a party. I was already pretty drunk at this point, but I figured what the heck. The party goes well and we go back to her place. She mentioned she has people staying over but they were sleeping in the living room, so her room was good to go. We make out for a while but end up just passing out after a little while. The next morning, I wake up lying straight on my back, which is odd since I usually sleep on my stomach. There was also a lot less space than I remember there being. As my eyes adjust I notice there's a dude next to me, and the girl on the other side is not the one that was there when I fell asleep. Apparently the people that were staying over were her sister and husband, who were in town for a football game. S's other roommate had people over unexpectedly and they claimed the couch before S's sister and her husband got back from the bars. So in a drunken state they just hopped in bed with us. S had gotten up to do something in the morning, so when I woke up I was introduced to S's sister and her husband. TLDR. Girl I'm seeing pulls a bait and switch with her married sister. Wasn't a monster. It was actually a fantastic night. I woke and realized the girl I was dating at the time was on her way to visit me. I panicked hard. Gave my one nighter some ridiculous story as to why she had to leave. Time meow. Unknown to me was that she was visiting her friend, whose room was across the fricking hall. She kissed me goodbye, turned around and walked 5 steps into the room. I immediately knew this was going to be a bad morning. The girl I was dating arrived no more than 5 minutes after one nighter left. She knocked on the door. I rushed her in the room, and then I hear from across the hall fricking butthole. And yay, she was right. I felt terrible. I told my girl I was dating right there on the spot that I made a mistake and we could not date anymore. She got extremely pissed and stormed out. It was one of the worst feelings I have ever felt. The guilt left me feeling pretty down. But it was a lesson in the what not to do ever again category. Life lessons are a B. Well done for coming clean, dude. After wingmaning and jumping on a grenade for my buddy, I woke up to a phone call at 5:30 am from my dad saying my mom was en route to the hospital. My mom died a few hours later due to complications of her cancer biopsy surgery. Dang dude, sorry for your loss. I drank way too much. Went back to her dorm. Was so drunk I couldn't get a full boner. I finished in about 2 minutes with my wet noodle and passed out. I peed in her bed and tried covering it up by pouring last night's warm beer over my pee in her bed. When she woke up I told her I must have brought my beer to bed with me. I was a monster. Freshman year of college. Went to this party with my 3 friends. My one friend had been hitting on this extremely pale girl with the brightest red lipstick. Not a good look. Who then introduced me and my other friend to her roommate. My other friend took charge flirting with the roommate all night. I just liked her boobs. Didn't care, wanted to drink alcohol. Anyway, proceed to get hammered and leave the party by myself to go home. Get a text halfway home from my friend talking to the roommate that I should come to the girl's room. Me and my stupid decided it would be a grand idea. Get there and proceed to make everyone laugh for a half hour. Outshine my other friend and end up courting the roommate, sending my friend home in the process. Long story short, bang the roommate on the top bunk, while my friend is banging the pale chick below. Girl keeps saying she has to work early in the morning, but she keeps screaming and we keep going at it. Her alarm goes off at like 6 and I turn it off without realizing it or something. So we both wake up around 12 and she is late for work. At the cafeteria, she leaves and I'm left in there with pale girl and my friend. We all proceed to get up and decide to go to breakfast. And we get there just in time to see big boobed roommate get fired. She was part of a work plan scholarship, so this was a huge deal. Because technically she lost her funding for school, which was like $15,000 at this private college. So she sits down where we are eating our breakfast and proceeds to break down, which I'm in no condition to help her with. I was still trying to piece together how I got with her. Anyway, it turns out I ruined her life. forgot her name, and my other friend really wanted to get with her and held a grudge for the remainder of our friendship. All in all, not a bad night, but the pale girl dated my friend and things were tense since she had to live alone the rest of the year. That really sucks, but don't take all the blame yourself. If she had to be up at 6 AM for something that important, then she should have been more responsible. She shouldn't have gone to a party and got drunk in the first place. The girl was staying in a house full of her friends. They didn't really like me, but they did all give me a lift to the bus station. The next morning, the whole car ride there, they cranked No Scrubs by TLC on repeat. No, I don't want your number. No, I don't wanna give you mine, etc. Although she was perfectly cute, my perspective of the situation was skewed by the 7 AM fire alarm. The joys of living on campus, right? When I was 20 or so, I hooked up with a girl and didn't notice how bad she smelled down there until the next morning when I was hungover on the subway on the way home and I could smell it all over me. It felt like everyone on the train could smell it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.